Hey Fearless Gamers, what is up? James from Fearless Games here, and I thought I'd do another basing video going over the tools, specific tools that you may need to help you out when it comes to basing models. In reality, 95% of the tools you're going to be using for making bases for your models are the same tools you've utilized throughout the model making process. It all depends how intricate you yourself get in making models to determine whether or not you have these tools on hand or if you use them a lot. With that being said, I have here just a selection of a few tools that are specific to basing that you really wouldn't need for making models. It is by no means the only tools you'll need. You'll probably have a lot of tools you're going to utilize on top of this, and you may hardly ever touch some of these depending upon what you're going for. Hopefully, with these basing videos, you'll be able to look at basing in a new light. Instead of looking at it as a chore, you can see it as something part of the whole model making experience and maybe even enjoy it. So what we have here, firstly, is this is just a disposable knife. I use this because I like using spackling paste, and if you're utilizing spackling paste or other type of putties, you're going to need something to spread it out. And it's cheap to get. You can probably get it at a fast food place, like some type of fast food place that has cutlery there to take, on the go or whatnot. Or you already have it. If you can get one tinier than this, go for it, because the smaller it is, the more control you have on the bases. Remember, the bases aren't that big in comparison to this knife. And that's just for spackling pastes and other putties if you want to go that route for making detail on your base. What we have here is a compass cutter. Now with the compass cutter, you would loosen up here and adjust the size of the between the blade and the center to get the circle you want to cut. They also make specific just circle cutters, and I think they have some actual shape cutters out there as well. These things are very handy, specifically these circle cutters, for circular bases. If you're going to be doing things with plastic card like this base here, it gives you a very nice clean cut. As you can see, it looks very smooth on the edges for the most part. It looks infinitely smoother than using scissors or an X-Acto blade after you traced out the base's circular shape on the card. At least when I do it. If you're going to be doing square bases, hexagonal bases, or anything not circular, or if you're not needing a circular cut for any particular detail, you don't really need the compass cutter, but I wanted to show it because it is something I do utilize, and it may help you out. Alright, so with that we got some brushes and a cotton swab Q-tip type of thing here. What are these for? Well, it should be obvious. You need paintbrushes to paint your models. You're going to need them to paint your bases as well. And with that, I wanted to show this particular one in mind. Aside from tanks, these flat brushes are great for dry brushing your bases. You can also use them on painting up your tanks. The second brush I have here is an old raggedy brush I still have, and I have a couple in different sizes like this. Sometimes I use them to base coat my models, but they're really good for dry brushing your bases as well. A little combo dry brushing going on here. Now the reason I have the Q-tip out is for the same reason that you can utilize this paintbrush for, and that is for glue application. Most of the glue we use on the bases, especially when you're gluing stuff down to the base that's just modeling sand and stuff of that nature, is PVA glue or white glue. And with the PVA glue, you don't want too much to overpower the base. You want to spread it over the base evenly, or in any type of shape you want to get the desired effect you want. And a paintbrush can do that. If you don't want to use a paintbrush, because even if it's a little bit old, you don't want to risk damaging it, and you can still clean the paintbrush of PVA glue very easily. But, that's why I use an old brush as opposed to a new brush. I don't want to risk it. If you don't want to risk it at all, one of these Q-tips can really help you. Now, another way of applying the paint, or I should say the glue, not the paint. Another way of applying the glue is to water it down a bit to get it thinner and spread easier and over the course of a few different bases with the same amount of glue. But that's something for a different video. So that's why we have the paintbrush and the Q-tips here. Speaking of glue, we have the two types of glue you're going to need for basing. Most of your basing is going to be done PVA glue or white glue. You're going to have some stuff that's going to need super glue. Some of the stuff that needs a super glue to attach to a base would be your models for one. And anything that's like a big bit you're using, or like a spare bit you have for models, or a big piece of plastic, or a big piece of rock, or whatever it is to get a certain detail, some corking, things you're going to want to stay down there securely without breaking off easily, because due to their size or weight or whatever it is, you're going to want your super glue for that. But most of the gluing you're going to be doing is with PVA glue. And lastly, we have tweezers. Now tweezers are good for models as well, for holding onto decals, because when you look at it compared to fingers, it's very tiny and doesn't get in as much of a way. This is great for using static grass and other grass effects. You take a clump with the tweezers, you apply a little bit of super glue or PVA glue, and you dab it on the base to get the amount of grass you want to stick there without the whole clump falling out, and then you put the clump back. It also makes it a little bit neater. And that's all the tools specific to basing that I utilize and that you may need. You may come across other tools you're going to utilize, and that's great. Go for it. This is not a complete list. And you may go through it and go, you know what, I really don't need this circle cutter, or I really don't need to dry brush with this flat brush, or whatever it is. That's fine. You know, it all depends on your style of doing your bases. I haven't included any sculpting tools or anything, because that's really more of a tool for green stuff. And yes, you can use green stuff on your base, but you know, that's really up to you. And if you're utilizing green stuff, chances are you have those sculpting tools to help shape the green stuff the way you want it anyway. So that's it for this video on basing tools. So now we have the basics down, we have materials down, we have the tools down. After that is really just go ahead and making some bases, which we'll try to do for you in the future as well. So once again, this is James from Fearless Games, and until the next one, take it easy.